Hello and welcome, dear friends, in new lecture of our course Health and Safety Management System. Still with Chapter 4, Health and Safety Management, Element 3, Planning and Implementation. Last lecture we started learning about the risk assessment. We learned the definition and the objectives and who is ideal to carry out the risk assessment and the criteria of it. And today we continue with the next point of the steps to carry out the risk assessment. Risk assessment can be described as a 5-step process, which are identifying the hazards, and identify people who might be harmed and how, and evaluate the risk and the control measures, and record findings, and review and update the assessment. So let's look at each step in more detail. Identifying hazards is the first step in the risk assessment process, and it's to identify all the significant hazards associated with the work. And remember that hazards are the things with the potential to cause harm, and it's important to identify both the safety hazards that might give rise to immediate physical injury, such as moving parts of machinery or vehicles, and the health hazards that might cause diseases or ill health, such as asbestos or loud noise. And remember that the risk assessment is a tool for identifying all the significant hazards that exist in the workplace and all the things that have the potential to cause harm. And it's not only a tool for only identifying those hazards that are poorly controlled. And there are various methods that might be used to identify hazards in a workplace. For example, inspections. The formal inspection can reveal the various hazards that are present and need to be considered in the risk assessments. Also, task analysis. This is a useful method to identify hazards since it allows hazards to be spotted before work starts rather than after the work has started. Task analysis involves breaking a job down into component steps and identifying the hazards associated with each step, so that the safe working method can then be established to deal with each hazard. As well, legislations that knowledge of the legal standards that apply to a particular workplace will help enormously in identifying significant hazards. For example, knowledge of the law relating to work at height will allow a competent assessor to identify which tasks might be defined as work at height and which can be ignored. Manufacturer's information either. When a new item of plant, machinery, or equipment is purchased, it usually comes with an instruction book, which contains information about all the related hazards and instruction for safe use, cleaning, and maintenance. Similarly, when a new substance is purchased, it comes with labels and the Material Safety Data Sheet, the MSDS, which clearly identifies the hazard of the substance. And also incident data. Internal accident and near misses data can be useful in identifying hazards. The main limitation here is that a hazard may be very significant, but may not yet have caused harm in the organization, and it may therefore go unnoticed. And also external data, such as national statistics published by the authorities, can be more useful since they identify the real hazards and risks based on much larger population size. Next step in the process is identifying people who might be harmed and how. And when identifying people at risk, think not only of those carrying out the particular activities, but also of those who may be affected by those activities. And they might be workers or operators, may be directly involved with the activity and working nearby or passing by some hazards create a risk. Also, maintenance staff are often involved in the removal of the usual safeguards present in the workplace because of the nature of maintenance works. For example, the lift engineer who has to climb onto the top of a lift carriage in the lift shaft, or the engineer who has to remove machine guards to repair a breakdown. Also, cleaners may be exposed to greater risk because cleaning work may involve the removal of the safeguard or additional activities that creates additional risks, such as window cleaning from an access cradle. Also, contractors may be carrying out work independent of the work being carried out by employees, or may be working alongside employees. The workplace creates risks for these contractors, and the contractors create risks for the workplace. As well, visitors to the workplace may not be working but are still exposed to a certain type of risk. Also, members of the public may simply be in the vicinity of the workplace, yet still affected by certain type of hazards. For example, a release of toxic chlorine gas from an industrial site will affect passers and those who live near the site. Here's the end of this lecture. Thanks for watching and see you in next lecture.